god! It's finally time to review Pokémon X and Y! The Pokémon games are all about adventure, strategy, collecting, battling, traveling, training and trading. And this time we get to do it in 3D. There's no denying this series has a massive fan base, but Barjo, I don't think I've ever seen you so excited for a Pokémon game.
And with good reason, Hex. I think this game is probably the biggest leap since Gold and Silver, both gameplay-wise and technically.
Well, not everything has changed. You and up to 6 Pokémon still travel from town to town battling other trainers, catching Pokémon, defeating the bad guys and conquering the gym leaders. And any wild Pokémon you encounter in tall grass or caves can be captured in Pokéballs and can then be used in your own party. Plus, fighting attacks are still super effective against rock Pokémon.
And for the first time in years, we have a brand new Pokémon type. Introducing the Fairy Pokémon.
Yeah, fairies.
Yeah.
Very.
It's not quite as silly as it sounds, though. I think the main reason for introducing this new Pokémon type is to balance out the type advantages a bit. Fairy-type attacks are super effective against Dragon Pokémon, who in previous games were a bit overpowered. And there's been some other game balancing changes to moves and type advantages as well, so it's nice to see the developers taking the competitive Pokémon scene seriously.
There are now also Mega Evolutions, which at first are a bit of a mystery that propels you through the story, but without giving away everything, it's like a temporary, stronger form that certain Pokémon can take during battle. It's definitely a welcome addition that adds another layer of complexity. But guys, I think we're missing the most fundamental change we've ever seen in a Pokémon game. It's completely transformed the way that we play. You can now move diagonally. Also, there are roller skates you can strap to your shoes that give you full 360-degree movement. Although it can be a little bit clunky to control.
Agreed, but this 360 movement is possible because of the beautiful 3D world they've created. And not just the buildings, but finally, all the people and Pokémon are full 3D models.
The animations are silky smooth, and it's the little touches that make you fall in love with this game. Like the way you bend down to talk to the kids, or how you do a stretch when you aren't doing anything.
Yeah, I spent a good couple of minutes in the game just doing this. Plus, you can change the outfit and the look of your character for the first time in a Pokémon game.
I spent all my money in the first shop on a hat.
But it's in the battles where these 3D models really shine. The way the camera moves and the animations when Pokémon attack just feels like a breath of fresh air for the series. I just love Mr. Mime's animation, even if he is one of the more creepy Pokémon.
But be warned, the frame rate can drop significantly in battles, especially with the stereoscopic 3D turned on.
Yes, and on top of that, Darren, I found the stereoscopic 3D didn't work half the time. It only worked in some locations and even in some battles. I'm not usually a fan of stereoscopic 3D in games anyway, but I think if you're going to put it in your game, put it in properly.
Yeah, it really is a shame, isn't it? That said, Glittering Cave, which did have 3D and used third-person camera, was actually a little scary, especially when you're about to run into a Pokémon and it's just all black. Ah!
And I think this is actually the widest variety of Pokémon we've seen in a game. Each area has almost completely different Pokémon from all the generations, so if you're a fan of first-generation creatures, you'll be glad to know you can find them throughout the game.
There's also the new player search system, which allows you to see other nearby Pokémon players or friends and randoms who are currently playing online. I quite liked that you could quickly start up a trade or a battle, or give them temporary stat boosts called O-Powers.
EV training has been slightly revamped as well. Instead of searching for that specific Pokémon to defeat over and over to boost one of your stats, you can now play mini-games through the new Super Training section, which is much simpler. And experience share isn't a holdable item anymore, but gives experience to your whole party without reducing the amount of experience the front Pokémon gets. Oh, it's so good not to have to level grind anymore.
Yeah, I think they've streamlined the whole experience, and I think this is the quickest save we've seen in a Pokémon game too. But I still found that after a fight, and just generally, there's a lot to click through and a lot of menus that have to come up and go away, and I think all of that can be much faster.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess I'm just so used to clicking through all the text boxes from the previous games that I didn't really notice it that much. The bag could do with some work though. The items section is one big long list of everything from stat boosting items to Pokeballs, and it can take a while to find the one you're actually looking for. What I did love though was the music. It still feels very much like Pokemon, but with a much fuller orchestra.
Yeah, I do agree the music is better, but I still don't like it very much. I just find it a bit repetitive. I am glad that they've upgraded the sounds of all the Pokemon cries though. Final thoughts, Hex?
Well, as always, it's such a massive game with a deep combat system and even features we haven't touched on yet, like Pokémon Ami. There's also the Pokémon Bank and the whole competitive side. I think Poké fans and newcomers alike won't be disappointed, so I'm giving this 8.5.
Yes, I definitely have Pokemon fever. I love this. I'm giving it 9 out of 10 rubber chickens. In fact, we've enjoyed Pokemon so much that we've done a bit of cosplay around the office, haven't we?
Oh, affirmative. We make quite the team, don't we?
We do.
I think Goose just needs to evolve a bit. Ah, Barjo, I've always wanted to battle you.
I agree. Let's fight.
Goose, I choose you! Come on, Goose, try and get into character.
Don't know why I couldn't have been the trainer.
Darren, I choose you.
Darren! Darren!
Yep. Okay.
Darren!
Do the noise.
Pika Pika?
Darren!
My laser was super effective. I think he really has fainted.